Welcome to Living on the Wire. Our league's look into how teams are managing their waiver wire money. We're going to have a little look at who's been picked up. We're going to have a little look at who's been dropped. And we're going to have a little look at how much people are paying to fix the gaps in their team. Week 2 today kind of exploded. Lots of big money bids, lots of big players moving around. Let's see if we think they'll have any effect at all on what's to come. Okay, and these guys are the ones we call the big bid boys. These are the ones that people had to pay a lot of cash money for. And first up, we had Garrett Wilson going for $41 to Andy in the Auckintoshan Owls. To be fair to Andy, though, this guy has picked up 30 points over the first 2 weeks. And so if you're in need of a wide receiver, then look no further. And he's only had to drop Zay Jones, who's not really done too much for Jacksonville. Although with 10 points picked up over the first 2 weeks, maybe some desperate teams will be having a look to see if they can pick up the scraps. Then we move on to Jimmy G. Jimmy G's back, baby, thanks largely down to injury. And I have to say, I was very surprised by Downey's $5 bid. Downey, $5? You thought you were going to pick up Jimmy G for $5? Bit half-hearted, and that's why you have ended up probably still looking for your franchise's quarterback. The next one caught me by surprise, but not Cooper Rush, because he knows exactly who this guy is. He's slinging them to Noah Brown, and as Rush is probably going to be in there for the next few weeks, at $10, probably a pretty safe bid for Greg and the Lions. So they've scooped him up and dropped off Kenny Golladay, who looks like he might be on his way out the door at the Giants sometime pretty soon. Now, these next group of players, these are the overpaid players. Now, I'm not saying that they're overpaid because they won't do fantastic things for your team. I'm saying they're overpaid because nobody else wanted them, so you could have got them for nothing. First up, I managed to let the Wildcats pick up Dontrell Hillard for $6. He had an awesome week 1, and with the Titans really struggling to get their offense moving, I'm hoping that when he's fit and healthy again, he'll be a great backup running back for me, and I didn't have to pay too much. I think likewise, Keith looking at bringing in Jerick McKinnon for a backup running back option and dropping Hines only for $5, so probably pretty safe bet there. Keith, I will warn you though, Hines at the Colts has a habit of later in the season when the Colts figure out how to play football again of being a bit of a touchdown machine, so keep a little eye out on that, might break your heart later in the season. Next up, Brian's picked up Tyler Conklin for $3. It's not a lot of money, but then again, you are picking up a Jets tight end. Be interesting to see what happens to that Jets team when Wilson's back and fit, and they're no longer having to rely on Flacco. If you need him to cover any gaps in your team, fair enough if he's a bench option, but I wouldn't be expecting too much for the whole season out of him. And then the big surprise on this set here was Andy Thorburn digging in for the Dallas Cowboys. Now with Micah Parsons, they've got an incredible player and their defense is doing really well. That's the LA Rams. They are the reigning champions, largely because that defense is a well-oiled machine with Donald and Ramsey. Perhaps the Cowboys for the next couple of weeks got a bit of an easier run of games, but I don't think there was a lot in that, so it'll be interesting to see if that pays off for Andy and the Auckintoshan Owls. And then cheapest chips, the people you pick up for free or you pick up for $1 just to pad out your team. So the Wildcats, very unhappy with the Colts, the defense over the first 2 weeks. The Bears are a pretty poor team, but they're picking up more points than the Colts right now, so that just seemed like a move to do in the meantime. Although, now that there's some other teams out there, that might be getting changed sometime soon too. And then Brian picking up Graeme Fairbairn. He has picked up over 9 points each of the first 2 weeks and is one of the top rating kickers, and I'm surprised other teams haven't gone in for him. I was quite surprised to see that he went for only $1 and that was the only bid, and definitely makes sense. And remember, kickers win games, I just proved that by whooping Jago's ass, by smashing him in the face, purely on the boot of Tyler Bass. So keep an eye on those kickers. Sometimes they can be easy points when things aren't going your way. And then we've got Williams, Darrell Williams, and an interesting one to see. Again, picking up points last week, but was out the first week. Difficult to know exactly what's going to happen as far as his role in the team. However, I think he's doing a bit better than Romeo there, so just somebody to pad out your bench. And then these happen too. Mark Ingram, maybe a slight upgrade for your bench over Elijah Moore, who's not seeing as much of the ball. That might change again when Zach Wilson's back. But also Mark Ingram's involvement at running back might also be affected by injuries at the Saints. So we're only going to figure out as the weeks go on whether or not Brian's made a smart move there, but it's not cost him anything, and I think a pretty low risk. Ross has dropped the Miami Dolphins. Now, if Ross is anything like me, he's dropped these Dolphins because it can really suck to have your own team's defense in here. I picked the Patriots before, and you find yourself almost getting hit doubly hard when they have a bad week, because it probably means that your team's lost, and it probably means that your fantasy team's getting hit hard and losing on points as well. After a mammoth week 1, really let a few points go there in week 2. And so I think it's all about looking at the schedule, seeing what other defenses are out there and seeing who you can pick up. And then the last one, Andrew Downey going for that little backup move there, bringing in Mac Jones just in case he can't manage to trade away and get somebody else. Andy, just think about it. You should have had Jimmy G. If you just throw in some money at the problem, you could have had a decent backup quarterback filling in for you. But you're going to have mac and cheese. Now he's pretty consistent. You could have done worse, but he's not exciting. He's not going to win you games. He's not going to have massive scores, especially the way that Patriots team is playing right now. So, you don't have to trade with me, Downey, but I'm suggesting perhaps that the waiver wire is not going to have the answers to your problems. You're going to have to trade with somebody. And then here we are, some big awards for our waiver wires. First of all, we have the big spenders. Andy spending well over $40, almost half his waiver wire budget gone in week 2. Just picking up 2 players. But if either one of those turns out to be a gem and works for him, it is money well spent and could be what takes him up into the championship game. Ross is saving up. I don't know what he's saving up for. His team seems to be doing pretty well. But now he's got even more money than he started with thanks to some trades. And that means that he'll be ready for if anything does go wrong with his team to scoop people up on the waiver wire. And he won't need to do it on the cheap. And then finally, this one's for you, Downey, the You Tried Award. Because the Dalwhinnie Dragons, they tried to go and find their new quarterback. They tried to shore up their team so they're ready for week 3. But I'm just not sure that mac and cheese is going to do it for you. But hey, what I know, maybe he's going to kick off and have a 30-point game for you. But anyway, folks, that was a little look into our Wednesday waiver wire action. Hopefully, you picked up what you needed for your team to go on to week 3. Unless you're playing me, in which case I really hope that whoever you picked up's legs fall off. Alright, have fun. Catch you later.